Hello students, good afternoon. I am Sruthi Kumari. Here students, we will study plant physiology in botany. Under plant physiology, here we will study about the transport in plants. Students, in transport in plants, these are the topics that we will study. First thing is the translocation. So first is translocation. Second is the means of transport. Under the means of transport, three ways are there: diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. So we need to see the differences between these means of transport. Right students? So here after active transport, we need to see about the water potential. Then it is the plasmolysis and turgidity. And last we will see about the apoplast and symplast pathway. So these are the topics under the transport in plant. Student, transport in plant is under the plant physiology, and along with the transport in plant there are other chapters like mineral nutrition, photosynthesis and respiration in plants, and the last one is the plant growth and hormone. So we will start with the translocation. What is the meaning of translocation? So translocation, student, it is transport of molecules over long distances. And how the transport of molecules, it is happening over the long distance is by the vascular bundle. It is happening through vascular tissues, that is also called as vascular bundle. So it is xylem and phloem. Vascular bundle, xylem and phloem, it is responsible for the translocation in the plant. And transportation of molecules means what are the molecules which are transported through the translocation. So basically it is water, minerals, organic molecules which are transported through the translocation. So the difference between the transport and the translocation is that it is happening for the long distance. Transport, if we are looking, then it can occur for the short distance, but the translocation, when we are talking translocation, then it is only applicable for the long distance. So this is the translocation. Next we will see about the means of transport. In the means of transport, three ways are there that we will look. Here the comparison it is given. Here it is the comparison between the simple diffusion, facilitated transport and the active transport. So here for the simple diffusion, facilitated transport and the active transport, first we need to see whether the membrane proteins are required or not. Student, for the simple diffusion, if we look for the simple diffusion, then there is no requirement for the membrane protein. Here membrane protein is not required. Membrane protein is not required. Where it is not required? It is not required in the simple diffusion process, whereas it is required in the facilitated transport and it is also required in the active transport. So what it is given? No, it is given for the simple diffusion, and it is for yes for the facilitated transport and the active transport for the special membrane protein. Student, membrane protein, if you will look the membrane protein, it is also called as instead of membrane protein, they can give you transmembrane protein. It is also called as transmembrane protein, or they are also called as pumps. Okay, and channels. Any word they can use, students. membrane protein. Instead of membrane protein, directly they can give you transmembrane protein, or they can give you the pumps or the channels. So student, all these membrane proteins for the facilitated transport and the active transport, where they are present? So they are present in the cell membrane of the cell. Cell membrane of the cell. We need to understand about the cell membrane and membrane protein. So in the previous slide we will see what is the, through the diagram we will understand what is the membrane protein here. Here you will see the detail about the facilitated diffusion. So facilitated diffusion, I told you about the membrane protein. Student, this is the membrane. This is what? The diagram what you are looking, this is cell membrane. This is cell membrane, which is also called as plasma membrane. Okay, so in the cell membrane, what is present, student? Proteins are present. This is the membrane, and this what you are looking, this is the protein. Now, this molecule attaches to the membrane protein, and this molecule moves from outer side of the cell to the inner side of the cell. So why this molecule need to attach with this membrane protein? Why this molecule cannot go from the outer side to inner side of the cell on its own? Because these molecules, they are hydrophilic molecules, students. They are hydrophilic molecules. For this, we need to see about water channel. Water, of course, it is hydrophilic. What is the meaning of hydrophilic? Means water loving. Student, through diffusion, we can transport any molecules, solid, or it is liquid, or it is gas. All the molecules can be transported by the diffusion, simple diffusion you have studied. Now, we are looking about the facilitated. Why we need this facilitated diffusion? So, if the molecules are hydrophilic, water loving, then we need this protein which is called as transmembrane protein, or it is also called as pump. If hydrophilic molecules are transported, then we need this protein. They will attach to this protein, and from outer side they will come to inner side. Okay, so you got the difference between the diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Diffusion means your hydrophobic molecules are transported. Facilitated means hydrophilic molecules are transported. That is the difference between the simple diffusion and the facilitated diffusion. And here in this diagram you can see that molecules, they are moving from the outer to inner side, but not on its own, by the help of transmembrane protein. Okay, so this is the thing. Now some more points are there related to the facilitated diffusion, that also we will see. Here, this diagram is also related to, facilitated diffusion. It represents what? These are the three types of facilitated diffusion. First thing you can see, student, it is uniport, second is the antiport, and third is the symport. So what is the difference between the uniport, antiport and symport? This structure you are looking, what is this structure? This one. This is the protein, transmembrane protein. Okay, transmembrane protein, then what is the diffusion? Diffusion is facilitated diffusion. So if it is uniport, what is the difference between uniport, antiport and the symport? Student, uniport means single molecule, only a molecule, it is moving from where? From the outer to inside. Only this molecule is moving, no other molecule it is moving. This molecule is attached with this. What is this? This is the transmembrane protein. Transmembrane protein, it is the making channel and it is moving from outer to inner side. Instead of transmembrane protein, what they have written here? It is the carrier protein, student. All are the same. Carrier, transmembrane, pumps, all they are same. They help molecules to transport from outer to inner or from inner to outer. In both direction movement can occur. So, uni means single molecule is getting transported. Now, we need to look antipode. What is the meaning of antipode? Anti means against. Two molecules are there, student. One is A and another is the B. You can see A molecule is moving from where? From outer to inner. And B is moving from inner to outer. So, two molecules both are attached to this carrier protein, but they are moving in different direction. So, what the word it is given? It is given antipode. Two molecules transported at the same time, but the direction is different. Now, you look about the sympode. Sympode means A and B, two molecules are there and both the molecules are transported in the same direction. They are moving from outer side of the cell to the inner side of the cell. So, this is about the facilitated transport or facilitated diffusion. Now, come back to the differences. One differences we saw and related to this we saw about the special membrane protein. Now, student, first differences it is clear. What are the other differences between these three means of the transport? So, second is the highly selective. Highly selective, when this property is applied, highly selective. Highly selective is applied when there is transmembrane protein. When the membrane protein is there, then that property is applicable. So, if membrane protein is there, for water, then only water molecule can attach to the membrane protein. Other molecule cannot attach to the membrane protein. So, this means that is the property of selective. Membrane protein is selected towards the molecule to which it will transport. So, students, here highly selective simple diffusion, because there is no membrane protein, so they are not selective, whereas facilitated transport and the active transport, they are selective. Who is selective? Their membrane proteins are selective. They will attach to a specific molecule. If I am talking about the water channel, then only it will bind to water molecule, H2O molecule. Okay. So, 2 points I think it's clear, that membrane protein and highly selective. Now, student, the third point, transport saturate. What is the meaning of transport saturate? Transport, here transport saturate, for the simple diffusion it is not applicable, for the facilitated transport it is applicable, for active transport it is applicable. Saturation means the maximum point. When your transportation reaches to the maximum point, that after that point it cannot transport further. So, when transportation reaches to maximum point, that point it is called as saturation. So, where the saturation is applicable? The transportation where membrane proteins are present. So, where the membrane proteins are applicable, student? It is applicable in the facilitated transport as well as the active transport. So, all these 3 points, membrane protein, highly selective and transport saturate, these 3 points they are related to membrane protein. The transport where the membrane protein is there only all the other 2 points are applicable. Okay. So, saturation is not applicable for diffusion, it is applicable for the facilitated and the active. Now, the fourth one is uphill transport. One is the uphill and another one transport, what we say, it is the uphill transport and another it is called as the downhill transport. Uphill means it requires energy. Energy is required in which form? It is required in the form of ATP. Downhill means no ATP is required, student. When you are climbing the hill, then energy is required. When you are coming down the hill, no energy is required. Okay. So, uphill transport is not applicable, student. It is not applicable for the simple diffusion. It is not applicable for the facilitated transport. It is only applicable for the active transport. Only energy is required for whom? For the active transport. It is not required for the simple diffusion, not required for the facilitated. Why? What is the reason behind this, that energy is not required for diffusion and for the facilitated? Because students, simple diffusion as well as the facilitated both occurs along concentration gradient, concentration gradient. What is the meaning of concentration gradient? What is gradient meaning? Means movement of any molecule, it is happening from higher concentration towards lower concentration. If I am talking along concentration gradient, then I am talking that molecules are moving from higher concentration, from higher towards the lower. Where the molecules are high, from there the molecules are moving towards the lower concentration. So, for this ATP is required or not? ATP is not required. What is ATP, students? ATP is adenosine triphosphate. 3 phosphate groups are attached to this adenine molecule. Okay. So, when molecules are moving from higher to lower, then it is along concentration. So, along concentration gradient means for simple diffusion and for the facilitated transport, it is along concentration gradient. And when you look for the active transport means how the movement is happening. Movement is happening from lower to higher. So, from lower to higher means ATP is required. From lower to higher, ATP is required. From higher to lower, no ATP is required. So, uphill means energy is required. Energy is required means that is the active transport. Simple diffusion, facilitated, no energy is required. What is the last point? Last point is related to uphill transport, that it requires ATP energy or not. So, you only tell where the energy is required. Energy is required for the active, it is not required for the simple and the facilitated. So, no for both simple diffusion as well as the facilitated, and uphill you can see no for simple diffusion and no for the facilitated. So, this is the comparison between the simple, facilitated, active. Along concentration and it is against concentration gradient. Now, we will see the next one. Here, when you are clear with the transport of molecules, we need to understand about the water potential. So, student, this is the formula for the water potential. Student, here this is for the water potential. So, this symbol psi W, it is the water potential, this is the solute potential and this is the pressure potential. Water potential is equal to solute potential plus pressure potential. Okay. Water potential, solute potential and this is the pressure potential. What is the meaning of water potential? So, student, water potential we must understand clearly that water molecules have kinetic energy. Water has kinetic energy. So, due to that kinetic energy, the water molecules impart potential. So that potential, it is called as the water potential. Now what is the solute potential? Solute potential means when you will see for the solution, one is the solution, student, and second is the pure water. Pure water means there is no solute molecules. So student, water potential for the pure water is 0. One we need here, pure water means your water potential is what? It is 0 for the pure water. And solution will generate solute potential. So pure water potential is 0 at the standard temperature. Now to pure water, if you are adding the solutes, it is becoming what? It is becoming solution. So when you are adding solutes to the pure water, then the water potential decreases. That decrease in water potential is called as solute potential. Solute potential is denoted by psi s. Okay, and related to that, it is the pressure potential. So all they are related. It is also for the transport of the molecules. Next we will see here. This is about the plasmolysis and the turgidity. So for this you need to understand, for the plasmolysis, it is hypertonic solution. When plasmolysis is happening, means we are talking about the solution which is hypertonic. Hypertonic means, what is hyper? You are totally aware what is the meaning of hyper. Hyper means more. So what is more? Solutes are more. Solutes are more and water molecules, they are less. Water molecules are less. Student, hypertonic solution. Where is that hypertonic solution? This is the hypertonic solution. In this hypertonic solution, solutes are more. If solutes are more, then automatically what is less? Water is less. Here water is less. So when water is less, this is the external solution. This is, we are talking about the external solution. So in external solution, your water potential is low. In external solution, water potential is low. So when water potential is low in the external solution, water moves from the cell. It is coming out. You can see clearly that water is coming out from the cell to the external solution. When all water comes out from this, entire water from the cell comes out, then the cell is called as what, student? It is called as plasmolyzed. Okay? You can see the protoplast. This green color is what? Protoplast. So protoplast is shrinking away from the cell wall. Hypertonic solution leads to the plasmolysis of the cell. Now this second B represents what? What is this B? This is related to, student, this is isotonic solution. It is isotonic solution, and here your cell will become flaccid. Isotonic solution when you look for the isotonic solution, water potential is same for the protoplast and external solution. So what is the protoplast? Protoplast means inside the cell is the protoplast, and this one is the external solution. So water potential is same for the protoplast and for the external solution. So you can see that there is no net movement of water. When there is no net movement of water, the cell is called as flaccid. It is called as flaccid. Here it is plasmolized and here it is flaccid. Okay. So plasmolized, flaccid. After that, we need to see about the turgidity. So when we will get the turgid cell? Turgid means water is coming inside of the cell. And what is the external solution, student? External solution is hypotonic solution. It is hypo. So hypotonic, what is the meaning of hypotonic? Hypo, you are totally aware, hypo word means less. So what is less? Less is solutes. Solutes are less. Where the solutes are less? They are less in the external solution. If solutes are less, then water is more. Water is more in external, then that moves where? It is moving inside the cell. You can clearly see by the arrow that water is coming inside the cell. Okay, so when water is coming inside the cell, then the cell is called as turgid. And turgid cell put pressure. Where it put pressure? It put pressure against the cell wall. That is called as turgor. Pressure is turgor pressure. Turgor pressure is equal and opposite to wall pressure. Turgor pressure, here it is equal to wall pressure. Okay, so this is about the plasmolysis, turgidity and the flaccidity. Hypertonic, isotonic and hypotonic. Now next, student, here it is about the apoplast and the symplast pathway for the transportation of water and minerals in the plant. Two pathways are there, student, you can see in the diagram. If first we will look about the apoplast. So this is the apoplast. This one is apoplast. When water is moving through the cell wall. In apoplast, what is happening? Apoplast pathway. Apoplast means your water is not entering inside the cell. Water moves through. Intercellular space. You are totally aware what is the meaning of intercellular space. Intercellular space means this is one cell. epidermis cell and this is the cortex cell. So the space between two cells, it is called as intercellular space. So by apoplast pathway, water moves through the intercellular space. Okay, first thing. Second thing, that it is moving through the cell wall. It is not crossing the cell wall, it is moving through the cell wall. So 2 points, moving through the cell wall and moving through the intercellular space, then that pathway, it is called as apoplast. And when you look for the another pathway is the symplast pathway. So symplast pathway means your water, here your water is coming inside the cell. Inside the cell, this part is what, student? That is the protoplast. So when water is coming inside the cell and water is moving from one cell to another cell through the plasmodesmata. Now when you will look for the symplast, we must know about the plasmodesmata. This is symplast pathway. Symplast pathway means what is the organelle? We want plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata. Where is the plasmodesmata? Plasmodesmata, it is between the cell. Here you will find the plasmodesmata. So when water moves from epidermis to the cortex, then how it moves? It moves through the plasmodesmata and it is crossing the protoplast. So you can see, you are totally aware what are the layers of the root. So the first layer, you know, the soil is in contact with the root hair. Root hair leads to the epidermis. Then after epidermis, which layer, student? It is the cortex, and then it is endodermis and pericycle. Pericycle leads to the vascular bundle, that is the xylem, and further the phloem will also come. So water moves from the protoplast of epidermis to the cortex, and from the cortex it will go to endodermis and then pericycle and then to the vascular bundle. So it is inside, inner of the cell, water is moving, then it is called as symplast, and water is not crossing the cell wall. When water is not crossing the cell wall, then that is the apoplast. Student, here for apoplast, one more point is there which you must know is about here in endodermis. In endodermis, there is one strip which is called as Casparian strip. Casparian strip is waxy coated. You can see endodermis, innermost layer of the cortex is endodermis, and it consists of one waxy coated layer in the endodermis that is called as Casparian strip. Here, student, you can see it is the Casparian strip. So Casparian strip, what the point we need to understand for the Casparian strip? When it is the apoplast, water is moving through the cell wall, not crossing the cell wall, then it will come to the Casparian strip, but after the Casparian strip, it cannot follow the apoplast because water cannot cross the Casparian. Why water cannot cross the Casparian? Because Casparian, as you know, it is the wax. Wax is what? It is a kind of lipid. So water is insoluble in the fat. So water cannot cross the Casparian strip. So from the epidermis till the endodermis of Casparian strip, it is the apoplast, and again from the endodermis, if water has to go from endodermis to the pericycle, it can only follow the symplast. Student, which one will be fast? Like if you compare the apoplast and the symplast, which is faster? So faster, of course, it is the apoplast. Why it is the movement of water molecules are faster in the apoplast? Because your water molecules are not crossing the cell wall. Outer side it is moving. So, it is moving outer side, not coming inside the cell. So, apoplast is faster than the symplast. Symplast is slower and apoplast is the faster. Similarly, now this you can see in the root. When you will look the anatomy of the root, then here you can see this is what? This structure, this is the root hair. Root hair is in contact with the soil. So, root hair, you can see two lines. One is this is the red line and this is the blue line. Blue is representing what? It is representing the apoplast. So, from the root hair where it is going, student, till endodermis, you can clearly see only endodermis. It is not, water is not moving after the endodermis if it is the apoplast. And when it is the symplast, then from the root hair, it is coming to endodermis, then it is going to the pericycle, means continuous it is. So, this is about your apoplast and the symplast pathway, and all it is if we are looking for the movement of water under the apoplast and the symplast, then movement of water is under which topic? It is under the osmosis. Osmosis means movement of water molecules. Water molecules from lower solute concentration towards higher solute concentration. And you should be totally aware that I am writing the solute, not the solvent. Both thing we must be aware, solute and the solvent. So, when you are looking osmosis, then osmosis is the movement of water molecules from the lower solute concentration towards the higher solute concentration. And when you see in the respect of solvent, then movement of water molecules from higher solvent molecule concentration towards the lower solvent molecule concentration. So, this is about the osmosis, which is under apoplast and symplast. Okay students, thank you.